All right, let's get started here with the next tutorial. If you haven't already watched my previous video where I painted swatches from my new palette of colors by SWC, it's a Korean set of watercolors that I bought on Amazon, then you might want to go watch that prior video where I painted this set of swatches here and checked them out. And I did that using a ice cube tray as my palette and just some not fancy brushes, a Sharpie that I didn't use much, and just dinner plate that I didn't end up using for mixing any colors. Didn't actually need to mix colors. I was making a swatch palette. And then I've got my canning jar with a plastic canning lid on it. So, and that's these colors in tubes. I'm a fan of buying paints in tubes. I think it's actually more economical in the long run. You get way more paint to fill those little half pans or even full pans than when you buy a kit that's already pre-filled and in the little pans. You get much more this way, but you do need to know what you want to do with having a palette to put them in, because it doesn't come pre-filled. It doesn't even come with a palette for that matter. But I much prefer buying it this way. It saves you money in the long run. I think these cost around $35 to, it was under $40, and I got way more paint. So I have other paints I'm going to probably demo, but I already made the swatch, so if you didn't watch that video, you can go watch that. But I'm going to actually try to paint something with these now, because all I've done is swatches, and it gives you a very limited view of what they're like. So that's this here. You can watch the swatch demo. I'm going to set those off to the side, and I'm just going to use my ice cube tray for now, because I haven't figured out what I'm going to put them in yet, and use my dinner plate if I need it, although probably for this I'm not going to use the dinner plate much. It is handy having a dinner plate though, because I like to have my brushes lay flat. You should not leave your brushes in the water. They should only be in it long enough to rinse any paint off of it or to dip it in to pick up water. But I like to have them sit on something like a plate. And who knows if I need the Sharpie for anything. It's actually not Sharpie brand. I call everything a Sharpie. It's like calling everything Kleenex when your tissues might be of a different brand. And we can take the lid off of the water. It's white because these are tints, and my water turned out white after doing the swatches. So I was doing these on Strathmore's paper, which is not really my favorite, at least not this series ones, but it's wood pulp paper. And I think if I were using wood pulp paper, I'd prefer to be on Canson. But after, painting on some 100% cotton paper, it's really the best way to go. So the paper I actually will use today is this Art Beat paper. And now, obviously, it's not going to be the best ever, 100% cotton for anybody who likes to paint on arches and some of the other high-end ones. Yes, it's not as good as arches, but this, if you're a new person painting, you're a beginner like I am, this is definitely the most economical and best way, and it'll improve how you experience the watercolors on the paper. So Artbeak makes 32 sheets for like around $20, and I discovered them like a year ago. This is like, I don't know, my third pad of theirs, and I just finished off the last pad, so I figured, well, why not just leave it cellophaned, and I'll take off the cellophane while I'm talking to you guys. So one thing to note is it's cellophane, so that's a nice touch. My first pad from them, I don't think had cellophane on it. I think it was just loose. But they now cellophane them, so it ships without getting all messed up. The other thing is, the first pad I had, it was advertised as 9 by 12 inches, the standard size, but when you measured it, that first pad, the 12 inches this way included the very top where the spiral bound was. and they must have got a lot of feedback that that wasn't quite right, so they've actually made their pad longer and put a dotted line, and so the 9 inches actually starts after, does not include the bound part. So they have been making improvements to it over the last year by cellophaning it and making the paper actually longer, so when you take off your page, if you were, I don't take them out because that's why I like the spiral bound, but if you were to tear it out, you could cut off the top and it would actually be 9 by 12. So so this is 100% cotton, and it's like 20 bucks for 32 sheets. And yeah, it's not as good as Arches, but if you're a new beginner, painting in Arches is kind of like you feel like you need to reserve it for the best of your painting, which you don't feel like you're doing yet. But with Artbeak, I just painted, and it just makes a huge difference to paint on this cotton paper. So it just takes the water different, it pulls the pigment in different, and oh look, it's even perforated on this pad. So they're just, you know, improving things as they go along. So I don't want to drag my pad out of the camera view. So to line everything up right, I'm trying to keep things in a certain place so you guys see it square. And I don't know what I'm going to paint yet. I usually, to test out new paints and get a sense of them, because I just seem to like to paint lots of leaves, I think I'll paint a sheet of leaves. One of the things that I'm doing with my watercolors is not only am I learning how to paint and learning how to do different things, painting different subjects and stuff, is that I also take the watercolors and scan them with my printer, and then I use software to remove the background and turn them into digital clip art. I use Affinity Photo. So if you've been to look to see what other videos I have on my channel, you'll see that most of the videos are about Affinity software. And so that's the software I use to digitize artwork they make, whether it's watercolors or something else. I like doing digital art, and I like making clip art. So another thing about making lots of leaves is they're really easy to scan and have individual leaves, and then I can group them together in the digital format into different arrangements and compositions. So but to test out things, I mean, some people test using swatches, and some people do different kinds of tests to get familiar with their paints, and I like doing leaves. So I'm just going to start painting leaves. I'm going to probably at first at least go in the color order like I did in the first one where I painted the swatch sheet. But I'm just going to pick up some paint and try to get some more water. And these I can make much bigger. And this paint is quite nice. I can tell that it glides much easier on cotton paper than it does on wood pulp paper. There's just, you know, until you start to really use some cotton paper and get used to doing it that way, you don't realize it. I have on occasion, after painting on this paper for a while, gone and grabbed something else, even Canson, and been like, oh, I can't paint today. What's wrong with me? I can't get this brush to do anything right. The paint is... And it turns out, if I just go grab my cotton paper again, turns out it's not me. It's the paper. So, but it just glides much nicer and just flows. So there we've got one that's much thicker, and then I get a little thinner, and then I probably can get one more leaf in a very light pink. And I'm making them pretty big because I'm also thinking, yeah, I'll probably scan it and make digital stuff out of it. I have bunches of scanned stuff that I have to put into little packages to sell as like clip art. So if you have things you want to decorate with clip art, this might be something that would be nice. So I could probably get one more pink one out of that little light, but I'm gonna not. I'm gonna grab the next color. paint the next thing. This one I've got the brush a lot more watery. I could probably get some more paint, make it thicker. So I find painting with watercolors very soothing. I think some people watch watercolor videos just because it's relaxing to watch somebody else paint, but I get inspired watching everybody else's paintings. I watch a lot of different YouTube videos from different people who are watercolor artists. Some of them are the more well-known people, and some are just people I find that are getting started like me, but they have more skills than I do. And I like watching them. I just came across somebody yesterday who I realized she actually lives here in Massachusetts where I do, but she's way down on the Cape, and she has some beautiful paintings that she's been showing tutorials on her channel. I'm trying to remember her name right now. Jenny Law, that's the name that's coming to mind. Sorry if I have your name wrong, but that's what I can remember. But I found her because she had a video that she posted the other day. It said 5-dot flower. And I was like, what is a 5-dot flower? It's obviously a watercolor video. And I'm like, 5 dots. That sounds like a good technique. Start out with 5 dots, go from there. And so from there I get to find her, and she's just getting started. So now I'm just painting as a beginner. One of the reasons why I decided to do this and not be like the professionals that I often am watching, but just like, just probably in the same place where you might be, or if you are, you might even be before I am. Like I've been doing painting for like 18 months, so I'm still figuring lots of things out. Like I'm still trying to figure out how to get a rose to look like a rose. I do better on cone flowers than I do on roses. Maybe we'll try a sheet of roses so you can see what I mean. But one of the reasons I started this is I hear a lot of the people who do know what they're talking about commenting that their followers are complaining they can't get anything to look like the instructors' paintings. And I believe that that is because they've been doing it longer. They've been practicing. And when you first do something that you've never done before, I mean, you're not going to do it well. I maybe have done this a little bit longer than you, but I don't paint every day. I try to paint every week. Sometimes I paint a few times every week, but I don't paint every day. And the professionals are probably painting every day, and they've been doing it for way longer than me and way longer than you. And so part of me doing, oops, I got a big goop of paint on that one. This is going to be a much darker one, but that's okay. But they're the ones doing the instruction. So one of the things that I wanted to do is just kind of give you an example of what it looks like when somebody paints and they're learning, so that you can see that you're really not that far behind. You're not doing a bad job. You're doing good stuff, and it's all about practice. If you're not as far as long as me, it may just be that I've been doing this more than you. It could also be your paints. Oops, I want to switch colors here. It could be your paints. So but if you've bought good paints because you watched somebody's video and they said they were good paints and you saw good results, it may not be the paint. It could be your paper if you're not using good paper. That could be a lot of it. A lot of the people doing the demo videos are often painting on good paper. And there's a reason for that, because you get nice results on good paper. But as a beginner, you might not take the time or the money, not spend the money, invest in good paper because you're afraid to paint on the good stuff. That's why I like this art beak paper, because I'm not afraid to fill it with a bunch of leaves. So it could be your paper, it could be your brushes, it could be your paint. So it could be the brushes, but I'm not even using great brushes. I bought this set of brushes. They had like 12 brushes for 10 bucks on Amazon. And I only bought them because I took a watercolor class that just finished up. And this is on the supplies list. And well, I own way many supplies, but I was like, I wonder why she had us buy 12 brushes for 10 bucks. I mean, her philosophy, and I agree with it, is, the whole point of watercolors is to have fun, and she didn't want people stressing over the cost of it. And most of the people signing up for the class had never actually ever done watercolors before. I went into the class thinking I'm a beginner, but I've been painting way more than everybody else in that class. Not that my ability to paint was better than theirs. Some of them had been doing other styles of painting, and it was just watercolor they hadn't done. But yeah, so getting good brushes is important, but not as important as your paint quality. These aren't bad at all. I'm liking them. It'll be better when I can put two colors next to each other and see them run together. But I would start with, you know, getting good paint. Some of the ones that I've bought that are these cheap paints that are on like Amazon's lightning deals, and I'm going to be painting with some of them. I have some new, I'm a paintaholic. I think I buy way too much paint, especially since I don't paint every day, like I told you. I just like testing out things. I am by nature someone who likes to test and troubleshoot and play around and experiment, and I'm not as concerned about the end result of something. I'm more interested in testing and experimenting. So some of the cheaper paints, low cost paints, I should say, paint that took less money out of your bank account. Some of them are pretty good. The set of paints that I bought for the watercolor class, it was like it cost me $35 for the paints. It took forever to get them. They came from China. They were these Chinese paints, but after painting with them for 5 weeks for this class, they actually really were quite impressive. They were actually rather good. The drawback is that when I use them up, I have no way of refilling the pans because that company doesn't sell their paint any refills for it. But I'll refill the pans with, the other paint from other companies. I've got, hey, maybe I'll use that one for all these tubes of this paint here that doesn't come with a palette. But I'll probably fill it with something else. It's a metal yellow, painted yellow palette. And the palette's, the box, the tin that it's in isn't bad. But I'll just fill the wells with something that's quite similar to their color. It wasn't really a bunch of unusual colors that was in the palette, so they're the standards, except for one or two of them. So I've got a page of leaves, and they look pretty cool, so I'll do a couple more, and then I'm going to try something different. I might even try putting the water down first and then putting the paint into it. Extra paint on this. It's extra dark. Add some to that one. somewhat hard to talk and paint once you get into this meditative part of it. I think at some point I was mentioning things to try if you're still feeling frustrated after seeing another beginner paint and you still don't feel like you're there. Because I think that most of it is a combination of your time invested, you know, practicing. Nothing I painted the first time, these leaves are better than the first leaves I painted, you know. So time invested is probably the top thing. And then next would be your supplies. Now this is not dry, but what I would want to do is flip it over and paint the rest of the leaves on the back of the same page. This is, you know, thick paper. You know, it's the 140-pound 300 GSM paper. And it's nice and thick. And I always paint on both sides of the paper. Unless I think I've got some great picture going on and I might want to pull it out and I might want to frame it. But if I'm just painting leaves, I'm going to paint both sides. But this is still wet, so I can't really flip it over and do that. So I'm going to do something different. And I'm just going to set that way. I hope it's not up against something that will make a mess of. So now I'm just going to, I want to see these mix together. So I'm just going to put a bunch of water and whatever was left on the brush. Lots of water. And I'm thinking, you know, again, I'm going to make probably some clip art out of this. So I'm going to pick up some other color. I'm going to pick up this lilac and let it just blend together. And then I'm going to do this over here. And I'm not even going to change up the color. And let's put in, where's that like really nice pink thing that was up here? It's like, they said it was gray purple, but I think it's more pink. Get that mixed in. Add water. I'm just kind of making blobs. I'm going to pick up some of this pink from the beginning. I just want to see what they look like when they mix together with each other. It's much more interesting to have two colors together. And I think I picked up a lot of that pink, so I'm going to look at that. It like lots of movement going on. I get too many colors, it's starting to turn gray. So we'll switch back to some of these others. Put some yellow with this. Yeah, they have nice flow going on. With the white, the PW6 white pigment in there that they use to make the set a tint, sometimes that PW6 inhibits things from flowing, but these are nice. Yeah, let that flow around. Try not to get them to touch or they will bleed into each other, and then when I pull them into the digital form they'll be harder to separate. So I'm trying to get more of that color. I think I'll put it in here. If it mixes together like that and you get a little bit of brown, that means you've got two complementary colors going together. And they are causing strange effects. So they're making things turn brown because you've got like that one started to turn, so I'm thinking it's yellow, and opposite of yellow is blue, so there may have been something bluish going on. Not blue. The yellow is yellow and blue are primary. So green. No, going in the wrong direction. Purple. I guess so. I'm trying to talk and do this, and it's not really working together in my brain, so I'm going across the color wheel the wrong way. Yellow and purple are complementary. Red and green, and blue and orange. So I don't think there was any blue going on there. I have to look at to see what the colors were. This is pretty right here. So I don't know what was turning brown. Orange and blue, yellow and purple. I guess it's the yellow and purple. What have I not used? We haven't done anything with this lavender yet. I wouldn't be surprised if this lavender has some cobalt in it because it's has a chalkier appearance, and I find cobalt looks chalky. Yeah. These are pretty. I like these paints. I'll use this one here. You know, as you're watching me on this video or any video and you have a question that you want to ask beginner to beginner, let me know. If you want me to show you something, maybe you saw somebody's video and you tried to paint it and you're like, doesn't look right. Let me know and I will try painting it. And if mine looks like yours, then it's a matter of practice. Or maybe while I'm doing it, I'll do something and you'll go, oh, I didn't do it that way, and maybe I can help you troubleshoot it. Sometimes when somebody is really good at their painting, they don't realize they're missing a step in explaining it because they're so comfortable with it. So sometimes beginner to beginner can help. Some instructors, though, I watched somebody, I can't remember her name right now, but her ability to explain nuances of things, I was very impressed with. I think her last name was Walker. I don't remember the first name. And I really thought she did a great job at explaining things, even subtle things, really well. I only watched a couple of her videos, but she's somebody I'm going to go back to. And some people are making videos for people who are more advanced, and so they don't necessarily need to explain some of the basic things. But if I can help you out with understanding what you're painting, or at least help you feel like, all right, it's not just me, she's struggling with it too, then I'm here to help you out either way. I haven't done any with the green yet. What's up with that? There, we're going to rinse this brush up. We're going to do something with green because I have nothing on here that's green. Start with the darker one. Not enough water. Need lots of water. And if you already have a favorite brand of paint or type of paper or whatever, let me know in the comments. I'm curious to know what people have been playing with that they like most. Most of my paints are Winsor Newton Professional and Daniel Smith. I think I own like every color of whatever they sell in Michael's Crafts, and a few from online. Plus I have here and there I have some Holbeins. I have one tube of M. Graham. I gotta buy another one of those because, oh my god, did it have a lot of pigment. It was a blue turquoise. Turquoise tends to be highly pigmented anyways, but this was over the top. So that was probably the most expensive tube I've bought, and I only own one tube, but that's gonna last forever. I'll probably never need to buy that color again. But so I have M. Graham. I have at least one by Sennelier, which is so lovely, and a few by Mission Gold. And did I say Holbein already? I don't remember. But most of mine are Winsor Newton Professional and Daniel Smith. I probably have more Daniel Smith than the other. So these ones here is my first delve into another brand that's pretty well known, I believe. I think they're well known. Maybe somebody, if anybody's watching this that's like more advanced, you know, maybe you are an instructor, maybe you can tell me if this is a well-known brand, because I think it is, but I'm not really sure. So those look pretty cool. And then I'm going to let those dry in my leaves on this side. And when they're completely dry, I'm going to flip it over, do the other colors in leaves, and I'll do another sheet where I mix these up. And then I'll scan them with my printer. Like one of my printers does 1200 DPI, so might go do it that way, but at least 600 DPI. And then I'll remove the background and separate them out into clip art, and people will be able to buy them on my Etsy shop and on my website to use for maybe stickers or whatever people want to use blobs for. I do hang out with a lot of people that are in the PLR community. If you don't know what PLR is, it stands for so it stands for private label rights, and otherwise you might be more familiar with it being commercial use, or rebrandable is another term. Rebrandable is more about having written content or templates, like layouts for things, and being able to rebrand a set of templates that was for like a planner or something like that, a planner, a journal, calendar. So, but PLR, or commercial use, people will be able to purchase these and put them on things that then, once they're mixed with something else that was created, like a calendar or stickers with words on top, then you can feel free to resell them, but not the clip art as it is right here. So, but if that interests you, you can visit my website or Etsy shop and find out more, or maybe you're just more interested in like what to do with your watercolor paints. So I can go in two directions here. So if you want to tell me what kinds of things you're testing out, whose videos you've seen, can I give it a try and see what my results are, you know, that kind of thing. Or maybe you just want to know more about all my many different paint palettes, perhaps, because I'm going to show them to you anyways on different videos. So if that's your thing, you want to see different palettes, I've got that. You can go back and watch the one where I unboxed this palette the first time I made swatches, these swatches over here. You know, let me know what you want for content. I'm just playing. That's all I'm doing. I'm playing and hoping that it helps somebody become either fascinated with watercolors or paint better, or if you're more into the digital part and this was just something you watch, but you're really here because of my affinity videos, but you don't think painting's your thing, or maybe you don't think you're an artist. I had somebody tell me that they couldn't draw a stick figure, and she's now making digital art that's gorgeous on her channel. And a year ago, she said she couldn't draw a stick figure. So I taught her some basic skills, and off she went running, and has some really, really nice stuff she's making. So if you're a digital person here with Affinity videos and you're like, I can't paint, I beg to differ. You can paint, and I will, do this, but I'll help you out. So I'm going to end this video now, and I'll be back with another video. And if you liked this, do as you should be in the habit of doing with anybody's videos on YouTube. Hit the like button. It's a way of saying thank you. I got something out of this. I really appreciate it. This was fun to watch, or whatever. It's thank you. And it helps the video be found by other people, because YouTube uses that in their algorithms. If you hit the like button, then it says, oh, there's something good here, and more people will see it. And if you want to make sure that you know about other videos I have and to support my channel, also subscribe. And do that for other people's videos. I can't tell you how many people's videos, I'm always on YouTube watching videos. I always hit like, and I always subscribe when they've got enough videos that are the kind of thing I like to watch. So do that for me and for everybody else. It helps everybody out. And thanks very much for watching my video, and I'll see you in the next one.